Tonight on America's Dumbest Criminals. Right away, you know this inmate's not going to get out early on good behavior. No, this isn't Julia Child making bouillabaisse. This concoction is a recipe for disaster. And these pot-smoking workmen were in charge of installing a surveillance system in a jail. And look how well it works. Oh, the crooks scheme and scam like there's no tomorrow. But as you'll see, there's always a catch here on America's Dumbest Criminals.
Delta 1566, give me a call on your
Now, welcome your hosts for ADC, Daniel Butler and Debbie Allen.
Thank you, thank you. So, what do you think about my fashion statement, Debbie?
I think it says, help me. I've lost the other 4 village people.
Oh, it's cold, Debbie. It's really cold. No, see, we've got a story tonight about a crook on a Harley. So I thought I'd dress the part like Marlon Brando in The Wild Bunch.
Yeah, but you're more mild than wild. Of course, maybe if they made Dockers in leather.
Hey, come on now. I think you're just envious, Debbie.
I don't think so.
No, it's all right. You can admit it. Look, but old Dan didn't forget you. I got you this biker chick hat, okay? So you can try the biker chick look. Come on. Nah, come on, watch. Here we go, hey.
Okay, what do you think?
I don't think so. No, I don't think you're the biker chick type, you know? The best you could hope for, maybe, even with the hat, is like Patrol Mother gone bad, I think.
Hey, maybe I like that. You, toddler, run again and you're toast.
Oh, Debbie. You want to see my tattoo?
No.
No, really. No,
No.
Here, I got it. It's a little lick it and stick it. I just haven't figured out where to lick it and stick it yet.
While you're working on that, I'll introduce the first story. You're about to meet a crew of construction workers who were good at their jobs of installing security cameras. In fact, they were too good for their own good, and that's why they were caught on camera.
We've got a brand new jail here in Benton County, Arkansas.
During the construction of the jail facility, we received information that 2 individuals who were installing the surveillance equipment for the jail were selling narcotics and using narcotics.
We utilized our new surveillance equipment that had been installed in the jail.
You can see the 2 individuals who were just pulling out of the parking space, and there was an undercover officer as well as video surveillance which watched them eat their lunch, and then they smoked a joint.
We drove around to the back side of the jail and kind of surrounded them as they were starting to leave out. After
the 2 were placed under arrest for possession, a K-9 came in and did search the vehicle, and we did find more narcotics and drug paraphernalia inside the vehicle.
The dumbest part of all this is smoking marijuana at the new jail.
A little Debbie word, Chef. The Blair Witch Project was about a trio of young people who got in over their heads in the Maryland woods, but forged on in pursuit of answers.
Well, we've got a duo of young people who get in over their heads at a Louisiana country club, but commit forgery in their pursuit of a free meal.
But their upward mobility is about to take a sudden downturn. And just like the Blair Witch filmmakers, they leave something to remember me by.
Here in Louisiana, we have some very nice, very exclusive country clubs. But early one morning this year, we were called to one of those country clubs after 2 teenage boys who apparently were skipping school had gone in, eaten a very hearty and very expensive breakfast, and then forged a name on the account. Unbeknownst to them, the owner of that account had already detected unauthorized charges on his last statement and had notified the country club to be on the lookout.
Are you sure this is your account? Yeah, that's mine. Is that his account? Yeah, that's my account.
So they simply stalled bringing the gentleman their bill while we came and arrested them. The deputy was somewhat merciful. Rather than booking them with the felony of forgery, the deputy simply issued them summonses for misdemeanor theft. Then he followed them to high school since they were already truant and made sure they got where they were going. The alternative, of course, would have been letting them sample the breakfast at the parish jail.
I'll never forget that threat-laced statement. You'd better not step out of line.
Said by a teacher, biker boy?
Oh, who hasn't said that to me, Debbie?
It's probably true. Right now, let's look at a bank robber who claimed he was armed, but he definitely wasn't calling the shots. See what we mean? This bank robber seems like he's in a hurry, but inside, he'd been ridiculously patient. He entered this South Florida bank and announced that he would detonate a pipe bomb unless the tellers handed over their money. They responded that he would have to get back in line if he wanted cash. Amazingly, he did. While the robber waited, they slyly called police, who had time to get into position before the man made his exit. And his pipe bomb? Well, it turned out to be just a cardboard toilet paper roll. Although he gets points for being patient, he proves that a fool and his money are soon parted.
In Houston, beer may not be purchased after midnight on a Sunday, but it may be purchased on a Monday.
So I'm not sure when Monday begins in Houston, but I know when trouble began for a guy who was about a half dozen beers shy of a six-pack. Watch as this gambling gourmet gambles that police will swallow one of America's dumbest excuses.
I was on patrol. I stopped at a red light and casually glanced over at the car next to me. It was a man driving, and he purposely looked over at me, picked up a cooking pot and drank out of it, looked over at me again, and set the pot down. The light turned green. I pulled him over, asked for his driver's license, etc., asked what was in the pot, and he very happily, graciously complied and showed me what was in the pot. It was full of beer. Apparently, he thought he'd found a loophole in the system, whereas he could pour a six-pack into the pot and drink out of the pot, thinking that wasn't an open container. It's still an open container.
No, it's supposed to be in a bottle. That means open bottle.
Yeah, it's still an open container. I think there was a loophole in his thinking.
People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw bricks. It's not a particularly good idea for guys who think they can get away with robbing convenience stores either, especially on the kind of schedule this guy established. Here's tonight's Blue Light Special.
About 2:30 in the morning, I'd been driving around a neighborhood on our east side of town, and there's a Circle K store in that neighborhood, and I'd seen somebody hanging out by the phones at about 2:30 that morning. And he was distinctive because he had a white hard hat, a black leather jacket. Looked like he probably just came off his night shift. About an hour later, I got an alarm that there had been a glass break at 38th and Harlan, which is the Circle K store, and went back over there. But that gentleman was not there anymore. So checked the door. It looked like somebody had taken a cinder block and smashed it repeatedly. So I called for a manager to come and talking with her a little bit. And here comes this character back in the white hard hat and the black leather jacket. I asked him if there was anything I could do to help him. He said no, he just wanted to see the excitement. And then he went over and made a phone call, said he needed to get a ride home from work, which I thought was unusual since he was there an hour before. But I went inside with the clerk and we looked at the surveillance tape. She gets it backed up to the place that we want to watch. As we get it to that spot, there's my character with the white hard hat and the black leather jacket. You'll see here that he is walking toward the doors with a cinder block, and here he's throwing the cinder block at the front door and it just disintegrates. But he can't seem to get that glass to break. So here you see he's picking up the smaller pieces of cinder block. He's going to throw that back at the door, and that still doesn't do it. They just disintegrate on the door as well. So he gets frustrated, and you can see here he walks up to the door and he just starts kicking it with his boots, and that finally does it. So I got on the radio right away and said, oh, this guy was just outside. Let me see if I can go get him. When I ran out the front doors, he was just standing on the phone. I said, get into around, put your hands behind your back. So his night just got progressively worse.
T.T. Barnum said that there was a sucker born every minute, and those who run Carnival midways count on it. The people who operate the games count on your money running out before their luck does. But sometimes a game operator doesn't leave things to chance. A new category of crime for us. For the pros and cons of carnival life, we go to Corporal Glenn Hester in Glenn County, Georgia.
I was inspecting carnival games at one of the local fairs that we had here, And one of the operators had what they call a peach or a bushel basket game. The object is to throw a ball into the basket, and if it stays, and you can do it twice, you win. Well, I asked the operator to go ahead and show me how it was done. Well, he's inside the booth area, so he tosses one in. I asked him, are players allowed to be in the booth? He said, no, they are where you are. I said, then come on out here. He came out to the point of the player, threw one to the side, which was a cross throw. I showed him the rules he had hanging. I said, remember, the rules say no cross throwing. So he tried to throw one into it without a ball already in it, and he couldn't do it. And I told him, I said, you want to try another basket? He went to the other basket that had the ball already in it, which will deaden the basket so that it won't bounce out. Well, he got that one in, but then I showed him the rule, you must throw into an empty basket. He tried again into an empty basket. Finally, the only way he could get it in was to hit the rim. But he had a rule that said rim shots don't count. So I gave him a choice, either shut it down and get it out or count the rim shots. And he decided to go for the rim shots.
When traveling, the crew of ADC eats at Tony Roma's. Tony Roma's, over 200 locations worldwide.
And now with the news. From a man who puts the anchor in Anchorman, here's Daniel with the ADC headlines.
Two bogus businessmen in Tennessee convinced dozens of people to invest in a high-tech diesel truck they claimed they were going to manufacture. The first sign of trouble? They periodically siphoned assets off by simply making large checks out to cash. More questionable was that the hucksters claimed to be the half-brother of Sylvester Stallone and the cousin of Elvis Presley. Two names not immediately associated with advanced technology. 6 lessons from a genius in Amity, Oregon. Lesson number 1, don't drive drunk. Lesson number 2, don't drive off after officers stop you. Lesson number 3, don't fire upon the officers following you. Lesson number 4, don't abandon your truck and continue running on foot through a muddy field on a cold night. Keep up with me now. Lesson number 5, don't leave your mucked up boots in the mud and keep running. Lesson number 6, don't further humiliate yourself by being caught sitting in a freezing cold outhouse with toilet paper wrapped around your feet. Please. Your dignity takes a dive, okay? All right, hunger put the bite on a bank robber who made off with his haul but decided to stop for pizza, a mere 4 blocks from the scene of the crime. When police entered the pizzeria as part of an area-wide canvass, the crook got nervous and tried to bolt. He was quickly nabbed by the policeman and by the 50 corrections officers who had gathered there following a golf tournament. And that closes the file on ADC Headlines. News ripped from somewhere near the back of your local newspaper. Debbie.
Remember Daniel's motorcycle attire at the beginning of the show? Well, here's the story we were talking about. Clearly, the guy on the hog had been wearing his helmet too tight to try what he tried. He wheeled his way right into our special delivery.
Years before, in our old station, during the summers, we used to prop the front door open. There was this gentleman who had an active warrant for him, and he knew it, and we used to see him driving around his Harley all the time. Well, this guy, he was just so attached to his motorcycle that he couldn't leave his motorcycle. So when he knew he was going to get caught sooner or later, and since he was so attached to his motorcycle, he just decided to bring his motorcycle with him, drive it through the front door, and took it in the cell with him, and locked himself in the cell with his motorcycle. This guy couldn't live without his motorcycle, so he had to take it with him. But, we finally had to take it away from him.
When you think of a masked crime fighter, who comes to mind? Batman? The Lone Ranger? Chicken Man? Well, watch as we unveil a new hero who's come out of the woods to join their ranks.
My partner Kim and I were on bike patrol along the Truckee River. We smelled the burning odor of marijuana coming from along the river. When we rode down there, we found two guys standing along the river. They obviously had been smoking the marijuana. They had the smell all about them. We questioned them about it, and they denied it. We got a permission to search from them. Didn't find anything on them, and during the search, I looked down along the river, and there was a raccoon sitting along the bank with his hand in the water, reaching in the water. I didn't know what he was doing. I went over there and looked, and there was a marijuana pipe and a baggie of marijuana down on the bottom of the river, about a foot below the surface, that he was trying to get. Well, I looked over at the guys, and I said, hey, the raccoon found your stuff that you threw in the river. And they just kind of looked at me, and I said, well, the raccoon just got you arrested.
Now, let's look back at one of ADC's greatest hits.
Look at me, I've stolen a car. Hey, and I'm a bad dancer, too. I'm on the run. Hey, I don't know what you're all mad about. I'm going to jail. Poor me.
In Pennsylvania, it's illegal to use dynamite to catch fish.
I was working off-duty security at an arcade for young folks, and part of my duties was to stay inside, of course, and keep order. But another part was to occasionally patrol the parking lot and make sure the kids weren't congregating out there, vandalizing cars or whatever. As soon as I stepped out the door, I could smell a very strong odor of marijuana. And about 20 or 30 yards away, across the driveway, there was one car with one person in it. That's the only people out there. It had to be where it was coming from. There was no way to sneak up on him. All I could do was walk in plain view across the parking lot to his vehicle. So this is what I did. And I'm standing there, and I observe that he's bent over and he's rolling a marijuana cigarette. And very, very carefully and very methodically, and he's like rolling it 2 or 3 times. It's probably not his first one today. And he finally gets it where he wants it, and he goes to lick it, to seal it. He goes, oh no! He just finishes and hands me the cigarette. And that's another reason they call it dope.
Our final story takes us to Carlsbad Caverns, New Mexico, where a cave holds a dark secret.
Oh, I love caves. Don't you? All the cool formations. Did you know that stalactites are just drips that wouldn't quit?
Sounds like the story of your life.
I learned that. No, ouch, come on, you're picking on me.
No, you're always picking on me.
No, well, I like that arrangement. But look, all right, while I recover from Debbie getting mean-spirited on me, let's take a look at We're Not Making This Up.
Several years ago, we had a couple of guys that showed up here and thought they were going to hijack this place. I'm not really sure where they thought they were going to take it, but they had some place in mind. So they came on down, had a couple of shotguns, blew a couple of rounds off, demanded an airplane and a trip to Cuba or Chile or someplace. What we did for them was we turned the lights out. They didn't think that was too much fun and ended up giving themselves up. And what we gave them was a free trip to town and to jail. To catch them, all we did was turn the lights off on them.
What would you do? I mean, I wonder where you hide a hijacked cave, huh? Maybe you bury it.
Well, you work on that. Meanwhile, I'll say our goodnights, okay?
Well, I'd like to personally say many thanks to the bikers who may have been offended by my attire at the beginning of the show. I really, really don't want you folks mad at me. Just a little joke.
And we'd like to thank the police officers who helped us tonight. Law enforcement is a tough job, and we appreciate your hard work.
Yep. We'll be back next week with a gang of new crook stories, but if you can't wait until then, for more state-of-the-art stupidity, visit our website. You'll find us at www.dumbcrimes.com.
As always, we hope that we've all learned from others' mistakes.
But if you haven't, we just might see you next week on America's Dumbest Criminal.
Bye-bye.